the overwhelming majority of this congregation, we are immigrants to America. And one of the wrong notions that continuously fester in the minds of many of us, that America is home away from home. And I in particularly have a problem with that. America is no longer home away from home. America is home. Just think about it. If you have made a conscious effort, a conscious choice, you as the father, to come to America 25 years ago, or even 50 years ago, or even 60 years ago, to the point that now we have Muslims, immigrants being buried in America. Buried in America. And therefore we have Muslim cemeteries here in America. We have Islamic schools. We have Islamic centers. We have institutions. If that is indicative to anything, it means that we are part and parcel of this society. And so America is no longer home away from home. America is home. I'm not prodding, nor am I condoning the idea that we should forget where we came from. Far from it. But the mistake that we continuously make is that we are living a dichotomy, meaning we're not able to make a choice. Do we take the children and go back to where we came from because they are, in our opinion, they are misbehaving? Or do we just stay here and suffer? And so this is where the dichotomy comes in place. And so I'm not condoning to forget where we came from. Far from it. What ails our brothers and sisters and family members in Sudan or in Darfur or in Somalia or Pakistan or Syria or Egypt, it actually ails us as well and pains us. And what brings them happiness, it makes us jubilant as well. It makes us also happy. So I'm not asking that we should forget where we came from. But one of the biggest problems that is facing us here in America is that we as immigrants did not understand what it's all when we came to this country. No one put a gun to our heads and says, you must go to America. America is the only country that in its embassies and consulates, you have people withstanding the heat of the sun, waiting long lines to come to America. So no one forced us to come to America. In fact, this is the aim of every human being on the face of the earth. Now that we are here, but one of the biggest problems that we as parents did not imagine is that we never fathomed that a day will come when we no one fathomed that a day will come when we will have children in America and actually raise them in this country. Remember, we came to this country and we said, just in 2 years, I'm going to go back. In 5 years, we'll go back. Just when I when I build that home, we'll go back. We bought the land. Let's just build the house and then we'll go back. And it's been 25 years now. It's been 30 years to some. My father came to America in 1943. And he left in 1968, 1972. And then we came back, all of us, when I was 18 years old, back to the States. So he made that choice to take the kids, to take the whole family and go back, but he had his own reasons. Not necessarily the reasons of each and every one of us. For each and every one of us is absolutely unique. So now that we decided to have children in America, right? We stayed, we got married, and now we have kids in America. The biggest problem is that we are faced, us as immigrants, with a culture that we did not understand. A culture that is completely foreign to us. America is a country that raises children and raises individuals to be that, individuals. There is no village that will come to your aid to raise your children with you. There is no that you misbehave in public, then you get the whooping, and then you come home and you get a double whooping. It doesn't happen in America. And so parents, when we chose to be part and parcel of this culture, we did not know how to raise our children, and that is truly the focus of our lecture tonight. And we end up really speaking to our children in a way that has really nothing to do with the right way of raising children, because we resort back to something like this. Or this. And do you really support something like that? Some parents will say, yes. My father did this to me. My dad used to wake me up 5 o'clock in the morning and says, get up. My dad used to wake me up 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the field. And I'm like, I'm not a farmer. Why are you waking me up so early? Yeah, get up. Because that's what my father did to me as well. Or this teaching moment. We have to be politically correct. The father does it, and the mother does it. And fortunately, sometimes it takes both parents to prove that point. Right? And we end up doing this on and on and on. In fact, we as parents, honestly, are making our children suffer. And they don't know why. And we, the parents, don't know why. Your father, my father, all parents who immigrated to America, they came, some of us, already with master's degrees. Some of us came only for education. No one came to this country to be poor. No one came to this country to make dawah. The purpose was to come to America, make money, right? And then go back and be the rich immigrant or the rich muqtarib, as we say. And you go back and you have that nice home, you have that luxurious car, and you actually get to have a good family living. And we have always known, and we have always been told that the best way to be that successful is through education. And therefore, when we, the parents, are yelling at the children and making their life a living hell, as we say, it is always because of this following reason. This is why we shout at them. This is why we yell at them. This is what we want to drill in their minds and say, this is your only ticket to success. And we forget, because we don't know, in America, children are not raised to be educated in this way. What they are being taught in school, what they are being taught in college, it has nothing to do with the immigrants' upbringing, wherever country they come from, and in this case, obviously, Sudan. But one of the biggest problems that faces us as parents as well, and this, by the way, is a big mushkila in the Sudanese family, and particularly the Sudanese family, which we really like to spoil our children. We really do. We don't like to see them struggle. We don't like to see them feel bad because they cannot get something. And one of the biggest problems is, because we can't really make them go on that straight line, what do? You guessed it. We do this. A child cries loud, what do? خلاص, it's okay, just يلا خليه, يلا مش حالك. I watched one time a mother in the supermarket. When the child started to be unruly, when started to make a lot of noise, she said, we're going to go home if you don't stop. And he didn't stop. Guess what? She picked him up, she grabbed him tight, and she walked away to the car. Discipline is one of the things that are actually missing in our homes. But from what you have seen in the previous pictures, this is the type of discipline that we think it is the right discipline, and it is wrong. Why? Because our teacher in our schools coming from Sudan, this is what they did to us. It was always at the tip of the stick. Would you behave, or should I take out the belt? If a teacher in Sudan wanted the students to behave, whether they learned or not, it didn't matter. He would walk in from the door holding a long stick, and he would do this and he'll put it on the table. You could drop a pin on the carpet and still listen to it. I'm serious. You can hear it. It's amazing how fear could make students not learn. And so we gotten used to that, and the opposite of doing that is actually sometimes doing this, and obviously that is, in my opinion, is wrong. And so the question is, and I'd like this to be a little bit interactive, I mean, do you agree with the last picture? And if you don't, or you do, why? Why would you want to join them and just be in that situation with them so that they would not hate you? Right? No parent wants their children to hate them. Right? And that's why we sometimes break and give them whatever they want. But in the process, we're actually spoiling them. Right? So, anyone, just raise your hands. And I know we don't have, obviously, much time, but I'm asking because we want to listen to the keynote speaker, inshallah, and I'm very impressed by who she is. Anyone, any mother, would you agree with what we have shown, the picture that I just showed at the end? Would you agree with this? Yes, I see a hand up. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
No.
You would not agree with it? No. Why?
Because when we do that to the child, he gets used to his word and he brushes his idea on top of the parent idea. And every time he cries and he yells at you, back up.
Thank you. I think I should stop the lecture because you have learned everything that you really truly needed to learn from this lady. May Allah bless you. So, who pays the rent at home? Whose house is it? Are you running the house or am I running the house? Just think about it. If just today I kick you out of the home and I say, go out, you're misbehaving, don't even come back. You don't even have a key, right? How are you going to come back? So who's running home? The children or the parents? Children. Watch out for that child. That is going to be the next president of Sudan. That was funny. You couldn't even capture that if you wanted to. So the idea is, honestly, I found the problem is to be a generation gap. It has really nothing to do with anything else. It has nothing to do with education. It has nothing to do with smartness. It had everything to do with cultural and generation gap. As we will see very soon, you have to understand that we came to this country, most of us as adults, way cooked, ready to face whatever that is thrown our way. We didn't have to learn much. We were deeply rooted, by the way. We understood exactly what our religion was all about. Our identity was intact. We knew exactly who we were, so my personality was known. I didn't have to change or shift. In fact, I worked hard to shift and change people that were around me, meaning that I wanted to change the environment that was around me. But we have given birth to an offspring that is growing up in America where actually the environment is the one that is in charge. Once again, because we live in a country, we live in a society, we live in a culture that is more about individuals than it is about family, right? There is nothing wrong with that. It's just this is the way the culture is. And so we're not here to change the culture. No, absolutely not, because we can't. We are here, and my lecture is to look at something from a different perspective that we have never looked at before. And not necessarily to fix it, but to correct it. They say that a pilot loses their focus, or I guess their journey, loses the sight of their map 98% of the time. But yet, from takeoff until landing, you land safely. But 98% of the time, the pilot is not taking the correct course. Why? Because there is a lot of adjustment going on. And so, these are the signs, and truly these are signs of the time. Because really, truly, you're going to discover, as just our esteemed speaker laughed, but you know why? Her laughter and her body language shows that she herself, when she came as very young child, or maybe born in Australia, her parents were immigrants, right? She will relate to that, and many of the children who are in this conference tonight or today, they will really truly relate to that. We, the parents who happen to be immigrants, we might and might not relate to it, but that's where the correcting of the course comes in place. You remember this? Let me ask the one that says kids are in charge. Do you know what this is? Of course you don't. Of course you don't. But Khalid, do you know what this is? Don't act like a fool. Of course you know what that is. You played it until your mom wanted to throw you out of the house, right? Do you know what that is? What a big difference, isn't it? You see? Have you seen, did you hear that noise? At the beginning they were completely silent. But now there is some sort of a jubilation about it, right? Some happiness about it, isn't it? It's indicative of what? That they know exactly what this is. Remember this? In the front, some of the adults, the board members, and this hopefully doesn't show their age, he was patting on his lap and says, "Remember that? We used to have one of these." I'm running the entire presentation from my cell phone. I no longer need a laptop. I have more memory and more technology in this cell phone. And my background is IT. More so than a computer that used to be housed in half of this lecture hall. You know what debugging came from? We used to actually walk into mainframes, and Bashir knows what I'm talking about from Kirkwood Community College. We'd walk into the mainframe, and literally sometimes the older generation used to tell us debugging came from, we used to go in and take physical bugs out of the machine. That's what debugging came from. So you literally walked inside the computer system to clean it up and to brush and to move some of the bugs that found way that is warmer and died inside. And by the way, this technology, of course, made our children very, very productive, don't you? Pokemon Go rings a bell. Of course, mom and dad and says, Pokemon Go, الزول ده بيتكلم عن شنو يعني؟ That's what she's saying. And trust me, when we were in her age, if somebody would have said Wi-Fi, الزول ده واقع من السماء يا دول ودوه بعشر, right? This is basically what they do. You still want to buy them a cell phone? So, let me ask one of the young kids. Yeah, especially you in the blue shirt. Yeah, you. I love your hair, man. I wish I had your hair problem. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Nice silky hair. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. If you and I just get to find out what type of food you eat to get that type of hair, we'll be billionaires. I could always tell him before, after. Do you know what a 3.5-inch disc is? Do you know what a floppy disk is? She's laughing. You don't? You don't know what a floppy disk is? Yeah. Do you know what a punch card is? No? Yeah. all of us, brothers and sisters, our esteemed guests and honored speakers here tonight, each and every one of us in this life has a map. But the question is it truly the right map? Is it? And so, we the parents, we really needed education in parenting. We needed to have the right map, right? We, each and every one of us, who had, by the way, the responsibility to take care of their children growing up in America, we need to have the right map. But the problem is that not necessarily educating the children. We are here to educate the parents. And that's why the topic is our children's Bill of Rights. It is our children that are deserving of parents that know exactly what to do so that we would match the very theme of this organization by preparing youth today to be the leaders of tomorrow. That's the only way. And so if we, the adults, if we, the parents, do not know what we will be doing or know what to do, well, guess what? It's like a blind leading a blind, isn't it? And that's exactly what is happening to all of us. When I decided to have children, right? Did I say, do I want them, or basically, do I know what I wanted them to be in the future? Or did we just have children and then we looked at them as nuisance? يا أخي عليك الله سكتيهم يا أخي والله أزعجونا يا أخي. أنا ما قادر أنهم يا أخي شغال اليوم كله عليك الله ما سكتيهم يا أخي. And that's basically the conversation that happens at home. يا أخي عليك الله يسوقيهم. Take him out. I'm tired of this. صح? And that exactly is the problem. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran reminds us in chapter 66 verse 6 Surah Al-Tahrim يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة. All you who believe, protect yourselves and your families. أهليكم in اللغة العربية means your immediate family. Protect yourselves, and protection here in this ayah means educate yourself. Bring yourself to a level of Islamic sound education. Protect yourselves from the elements that are around you so that you would have the ability to save them from a hellfire that its fuel are men of fake statures and stones of worship. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam summed it for us in a way of explaining the ayah. كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ إِثْمَ أَن يُضَيَّعَ مَنْ يَعُولُ. Enough sin. It's a huge, voluminous, huge, mountainous sin to lose sight of who your children are. There is a show, there is the 10 o'clock in New York in 1989. I was in New York. And every time I would open the news, the very first thing that the broadcaster would say, it is 10 o'clock, do you know where your children are? Right? The biggest problem that we want to do is we wanted to make life good for our children, easy. They want a $250 shoe? Of course, let's go get it for them. They're not less than their neighbor's kids. Right? They want to have this? Let's just give it to them. We always think كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ إِثْمَ أَنْ يُضَيَّعَ مَنْ يَعُولُ, meaning, oh, I have to always feed them. I always have to keep them fed. I always have to make sure that they live in a good home. But we forget that we also need to develop their minds. We need to develop who they are so that they be better people in the future. Because if everything comes to them easy today, they will suffer tomorrow when they want to face life. They're not going to know what they could do. So first things first. Talk with them and not at them. And here is why. I asked earlier that I'm going to talk about things that are a little bit sensitive. I'm not going to read them. I want you to read them. And I'll go through them very fast. Reason being, you have your hand up? You want to ask a question? Okay. It comes to us in our rooms. It comes to us in our hands. It comes to us without us going to it anymore. And that's what technology does. It's a double-edged sword. I would always have my phone. I will drive 5 miles back home because I forgot my cell phone. But if I forgot one of my children, I ain't going to drive back. If I forgot my wallet, trust me, I wouldn't go back. You know why? Because I can pay with my phone now. But guess what? Somebody figured that this is exactly how we need to get to them. They are secluded in a very, very private environment. And you have no clue what they're doing. No clue whatsoever. And I guarantee you, and I would swear by Allah, that you do not know what your children are doing. You, the parents. And you know why? Because it is designed that way because you don't understand. And this is what they always will say to you. You don't understand. And they have every right to say that. And guess what? You really don't understand. You don't understand that you cannot be respectful to guests coming home. And why should I be respectful to them? Ya walad, قوم يا ولد سلم على And you know, he's kicking back and chilling and says hi. And he's like, hi, ya كبكم. I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit melodramatic here, but... Right? عليك الله عن الولد القليل أدب ده قاعد ما تقوم يا ولد سلم عليه. And he's looking at you like, what planet did you fall off of? Why should I get up? I said hi. Wasn't that enough? ألذ حاجة, you know, some of the uncles who come home, you know, they expect you to shake and hug them, right? And the boy walking like that, give him a high five. Bump that fist. And he's looking at like, ما لا يدك. And so with all seriousness, honestly, this is the stuff that is happening to our children. You know, the other stuff that I spoke about earlier is one thing, and it is extremely dangerous, and of course, we need to really tackle it. But this, in my opinion, is even more dangerous because it has an effect to it. It really does. Radicalization is not an easy thing, and it's not something that is light we should take. You will be surprised how many of our children are actually being exposed to this stuff. In fact, in Houston, Texas, and I was talking to Sammy last night, in Houston, Texas, we are actually taking actions against this stuff. The entire Muslim community and many Muslim organizations, we're working with a local task force that happened to be from the law enforcement and also from local communities and other organizations to actually tackle some of these things. The videos, the direct contacts, even the narrative, it has now to be challenged. And because we are raising children who really don't know much about their deen, when I recite an ayah or a hadith to you and I challenge you, you feel like you are insignificant. You feel you're less. And therefore, the only way to find yourself and to be better than what someone else thinks of you, what do? You join. And it becomes almost like a gang-like. We have seen, even from Sudan, just imagine from Sudan, a horde of teenagers, group of kids actually traveled to Syria, right? So you don't think if they could reach children in a country that is supposedly be a Muslim country, what do you think about children growing up in this country as well? Right? And so we talk with them and not at them. And this is the alternative. If you don't do it, if you don't understand your children, if you don't desire to even understand them, if you don't take the initiative to get to know them, guess what? Someone else is. And it is not something that is going to please you as a father or as parents. And the point is really not to cause pain, right? We can't just see a wound and ignore it. It is going to fester. It's going to cause pain in the future. So what do? We take that painful cut and clean out the pus for some of the doctors that are here. I know you just ate. This is going to look gruesome. So we clean it up, right? And we take the pain and then we suture it. But then it cures within a few days. And this is exactly what we're trying to do. I'm not trying to let you feel that, oh my God, we failed as parents. No. What I'm trying to say is we actually are now looking at this from a different perspective. I want you to really read this. This is extremely important because it really truly touches the core of our children at home. And if you don't think this is a shocker, I want you to read this. And mind you, this is a Muslim child. Muslim child who has actually been pulled here in America. And so there is clear and present danger that we all have to pay attention to. Number 2, did you ever look at yourself as a father and say, I want my child to be like me? Because you really have discovered something that truly pricked your conscience and says, I am really not that good of a father, so that my child should never be like me. Or the opposite. I really want my child to be like me. Because I really feel that if he does not become like me, I might actually be a failure as a father. And this child, he or she, it is not going to succeed in the future. And the choice is yours. And the reason behind this, by the way, is to ensure that I as a father and I as a mother at home, I too have to be self-controlled. I too have to be educated enough to know that if I do not do anything about myself, educating, correcting, right, adjusting, then guess what? I should never blame my children. And this is actually the reason I'm speaking to you about this. Wallahi, to the parents, we are truly blaming our children and burdening them with a responsibility and shouldering them with many problems. They are not deserving of it. And the reason is because I, the father, and I, the mother, is actually the root cause of that problem. The poetry, obviously, when we write some of this stuff in Arabic, it is targeting the parents, right? Especially the parents, and I will obviously translate. إذا كان رب البيت بالدف ضارب فشيمة أهل البيت إيش؟ الرقص. If I, the father, is a drummer at home, right? Well, guess what? This is what is going to happen. This is a connotation of the following. If I'm a smoker, can I tell my child, don't smoke? يا ولد, أنت بتشرب سجارة ليه؟ مش عيب عليك يا ولد? While I'm actually just finishing up my smoke, right? And the same goes with many other activities. وينشأ ناشئ الفتيان منا على ما كان عوده أبوه وليس الفتى منا بحجن ولكن يعلمه التدين أقربوه. Right? If I don't teach my children to be righteous, to be good, to be straightforward, to not lie, right? Not lie. While when a phone call comes in, قل له وأنا ما في. Right? ألذ حاجة, one child, the phone came in, and then he looks at his father and he says, قل له وأنا ما في. قال له أبوي قال لك أنا ما في. Right? There was, when we were fighting drugs here in America, we had a show, remember? When a father comes in and rummages through his child's room and all of a sudden finds a pipe that, marijuana pipe or whatever, drugs. And he says, what is this? Where did you get this from? And he says, I learned from you that, from you. Remember that commercial? Some of you are young enough not know. And so if I behave in a way, if I, the father, if I, the mother, behave in a way, why would I expect my children to behave any different? Keep in mind, this is a closed environment that I, the parents, are behaving with them in such way. And so, fathers, oh fathers, أمشي يا بتغسل العدة، أنت بس خليك قاعد هنا. قومي يا بتغسل له ملابسه. Sounds familiar? Why is it that in our culture, the girls have to always get up and go do the dirty laundry, while the boys are just sitting like kings? I think I expected even a clap on that. There was no hoo-hoo from Australia? I love the way you say that. I would have expected one of them, but fine. This is a true story. A true story. True story. A woman came to the hospital in a very conservative country, and I know because we're taping, and I'm not going to say the name of the country, but Bashir will know exactly what country that is. Hint, hint. You can ask Bashir later on where he came or where he grew up, right, Saleh? And you can ask Saleh as well. And they'll just tell you where they grew up. So she came to the hospital crying and crying, but she's just crying and her lungs out, right? So the doctor says, don't worry about it. We have painkillers. You really don't have to be afraid. We're going to numb the pain and you will deliver the most beautiful child. She said, you don't understand. I have 3 children, 3 girls. And my husband said, if this is the 4th girl, you're divorced. The doctor his jaw dropped. He said, what? She said, yes, doctor. If I deliver the 4th child as a girl, I will be divorced. So the operation goes through, she goes through labor, and subhanAllah, she has a baby. The father, of course, is sitting outside in the waiting room, and the doctor takes the baby in a basket and walks up to him and he says, Alhamdulillah, Allah has given you a boy. Of course, the man jumped up and down, kissed the ground. The doctor said, but wait, it's a boy. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing you. The boy has Down syndrome, could only see with one eye. One hand is basically it's deformed from the elbow down. And he's expected to live for about 5 years and that's it. And through the 5 years, he is going to be a vegetable and you will have to feed him 24 hours and take care of him. The man fell on the ground, crying and saying, Astaghfirullah, I was wrong. I would never want to do this again. Ya Allah, forgive me. And of course was crying. The doctor unwrapped the basket and says, Allah has given you the most beautiful girl. Thank Allah. And so unfortunately, even in our deen, what do? We all call them what? Naqisatu aqlin wa deen, right? We always say that. And somebody sometimes says, oh yeah, that's right? That's the guy whom we should not feed anymore. So what I'm saying is, we always say things like that to demean the role of women, to make them feel less important, to make them feel less beneath us. And this is the biggest problem culturally, is when we do this at home, guess what? She becomes the wife. She becomes timid. Then if her husband is someone who's abusive, she will take it and she will think nothing of it. Because that's exactly what was happening in their home continuously. And that is a problem, of course. Right? Well, case in point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran tells us, مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى. If you do righteous deed, if you go to Hajj, you get the full package of Hajj, complete hasanat for a woman, similar to a man who goes and performs the same acts. No difference. If you pray your 5 daily prayer, you get the exact same reward a man doing it. If you give sadaqah or zakah, if you fast Ramadan, it's the exact same reward. There is no difference. And the Prophet ﷺ even gave blessings to any home that has a daughter. The Prophet ﷺ says, قال من كان له 3 بنات فأدبهن وعلمهن وزوجهن فله الجنة. فقال أحد الصحابة قال يا رسول الله واثنتان؟ قال من كان له جاريتان أو من ابتلي بجاريتان في هذه الدنيا فأدبهما وعلمهما وزوجهما فله الجنة. وقد ضعف الحديث والله أعلم. فقال أحدهم قال وواحد يا رسول الله قال وواحدة. That means if you have 3 girls and you educate them, you raise them righteous, and you marry them off to righteous men, guess what? You will get Al-Jannah. And if you have 2, you will get Al-Jannah. If you have 1, you still get Al-Jannah. Amen to that, isn't it? Takbir! So the idea is, brothers and sisters, parents, we have a problem, and it is really truly a big problem. And the big problem is at home, we're treating the girls in one way and we're treating the boys like royalty. Why is that? Why are we showing to our girls at home that this boy is better than you? In fact, there are some parents have the audacity to say, "Amshi نظفي أوضة أخوكي." Really? And that's why they are fighting with one another all the time. No, really, we really need to stop doing this. This might not be the case for some people here, right? Because alhamdulillah, I'm speaking to the elitists of our community, alhamdulillah, but you never know. So we need to fix that. Fourth, the one before last, is, do you know your children's friends? You don't. Trust me, you don't. I'm going to break the code. If you think your kids befriended you on their Facebook, they have another one that you don't know about. And if you think they're texting through some sort of an application, guess what? They have something new that now called Kick or whatever the case might be, right? And so the idea is, here is what I am really trying to say. Who is your kids' friends? Do you know them? It's extremely important for the following reason. And these are the statistics. In America, your kids' friends are very, very influential. Especially you as someone who do not know much about the American culture. You didn't go to high school in America. Trust me, you don't know what high school is. It is truly a litmus test for our children. I guarantee you, if you did not go through high school in America, you really don't know what your children went through. You really don't. And of course, college is something else as well. They have to deal with bullying. It is life and well, by the way. And bullying sometimes does not have to be physical. And guess what? Many of our children actually suffer. There are some of our girls who actually adhere to the wearing their religion on their body. They wear the scarf, or maybe they want to wear ibaya, whatever the case might be, because the schooling system is an open system. Do you know how much pressure they go through? We press them and we push them to do that. I know for sure. I went to high school in Iowa, and I remember that. I remember this girl, I see her getting off her parents' car, but when she comes to school, she goes directly to the bathroom, and she comes out as somebody completely different. And the same way before she goes home, or goes to ride her dad's car, she goes to the bathroom, and then she comes out as completely different. We have created something, by the way, in America today, we like to coin the term, a schizophrenic children. Children with dual personalities. And that means what? It means that I have a child that sits with me in my lunch, in my dinner table, that is completely different than a child that I see him out in public. The same child that is in public, going around, holding this basketball and running to the hoop and just shoving down in right and says a couple of words that are very colorful. That's what I did. لا حول ولا ما له بيجي الشيطان كده. It's the same kid that comes in at home, sits like very quiet. يا أبوي ما مشكلة الله يبارك فيك جدا جدا أي حاجة أنت دايرة والله ولا يهمك أبشر. Because we taught them to be that way. Again, I'm not really truly trying to say that our children are bad. I'm not saying that. But we made them to be that way because we chose not to understand them. We really did. And the influence that they have is the influence of the environment that we chose, by the way, to be part of. No one put a gun to our heads and says you must go to America, as I said at the beginning. No one. But it is what it is. Right? So, finally, what legacy are we going to leave behind? Right? We brought them to this world. And now I'm going to ask the adults in the room. When was the last time, honestly, you the adult, the father of your children today, the mother of your children today, when was the last time that you actually, when you made your prostration, when you made sujood, you actually made dua, Allahumma arham walidayya kama rabbayani saghira, wabni lahuma baytan fil jannah? When was the last time? Was it this morning, Salat al-Fajr, Asr, Maghrib? Was it yesterday? Was it last week? Was it last year? Was it on continuous basis whenever you remember? And the answer is probably no, and maybe one yes far in between, isn't it? this morning. Because once again, some people are rooted in that when they come to this country. But now the question is, will my children do that to me when I am gone? Have we taken initiative to teach them that? Or have they grown to really hate us? And I, by the way, deliberately use that word. Not necessarily hate us as mom and dad, of course not. But hate who we are. They don't want to be associated with us. I guarantee you, children who grow up in America, they will not want to be associated with you as parents at all. I'm telling you, they do not want to be associated with you. Because to them, you're completely foreign. But you see, I'm not causing now an issue. All what I am saying is that we need to learn that. We, the parents, need to learn that, and we need to come to an equilibrium relationship. We need to come to a point in life to say, tell me anything. I will not yell at you. I will not make you feel this insignificant child that you are. I will not bamboozle you. I'm not going to make you feel less. Just talk to me. And that is extremely important, by the way. One girl one time came to Sheikh Umar Sulaiman, whom you probably know. He's a well-known scholar now, born and raised in America, and very articulate. In fact, he was asked when we had these issues in Dallas not too long ago, he was asked to give the invocation in front of President Obama, Michelle, former president, and of course the governor and the mayor of the city of Dallas, where he spoke eloquently, and mashallah, he made all of us Muslims in this country, or Muslim Americans in this country, to really look good. He said that a father called him and came to his office complaining that my daughter does not respect me. And he said, well, tell me why. And he says, look at her. Look at the way she is. She doesn't even talk to me. She doesn't respect me. Look at the way she is. Look at the way she's even looking at me. And of course, he wanted the imam to join. He wanted the imam to turn around and rebuke her as well and shout at her and says, be respectful to your father. After all, this is your father. Do you know that you're going to go to hellfire if you don't respect your father? And of course, they look at you and says, I don't care. So he asks her, and he says, why? And then obviously father interjected. I'm going to end, by the way, Muhammad, just 1 minute. The father interjected, and this is what he said. Wallahi, ana اشتريت لها everything that there is in the world. I gave her everything. In fact, I did this and this and this. And she interrupted. You know what she said? She said, I wanted a father. That's it. I wanted a father, she said. All right. I hope you get it. Did you? She said, I wanted a father. I don't want anything else. I just wanted a father. So, the final thing is, and if you did not get anything, by the way, if you did not get anything from today's lecture, nothing, I just want you to concentrate on this. To some of us, this is not important, but I feel it is extremely important. And I, as a Muslim person who speaks to many communities around the country, and sometimes even around the world, I have a duty, a religious duty, to tell you that your salah is extremely important. I don't care what you do in your life. Your salah is extremely important. And the reason is the Prophet ﷺ says, قال إن أول ما يسأل عليه العبد يوم القيامة الصلاة. فإن صلحت صلح سائر عمله. وإن بطلت بطل سائر عمله. The very first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask us on the day of judgment is a salah. If it's good and authentic, that's fine. Allah will forgive and negate everything else. If it is not, then Allah will bring us to accountability and will question us on each and every aspect of our lives. Keep in mind, the Prophet ﷺ was ascended to heaven to receive the order for salah, while everything else in Islam came down to him. That's how important the salah is. And so the question is, when my kids now in front of me, I'm teaching them to pray, and sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't, and especially if they're going to a public school, are they actually praying? Maybe, maybe not. They come home and they join the salah, that's fine. But the ticker is the most important question of all of this. When they go to college, are they by themselves praying? Would they look at the watch and say, Ya akhi, al-asr fat alayna, ya akhi, let's go? Or would they act like some parents, they say, يا أخي ما لسه وقت العصر لسه ما جاء، يا أخي ما خلاص وقت المغرب ما جاء، يا أخي لسه. Just دقيقة ثانية كده 10 دقائق، يا خليك قاعد. Right? I always wonder if your boss says, you know what, we'll give you your check in another 10 days. Just give us another 10 days. What would you say? You're gonna raise hell, right? That's exactly how it is. Allah did not obligate us with so many things except these 5 daily prayers. If we, the parents, did not instill that in our children's minds, if we did not drill that in their minds that Salah is extremely important, some of us don't like to go to the masajid for many reasons, and I respect that. But once in a while, take the children to your Jum'ah or to a lecture or to the masjid. That's fine. I don't care. If you don't want to take them, that's fine. Maybe you don't have time. But guess what? If you come home and you have that time between Maghrib and Isha, sit with them. Sit with them and tell them what Islam is all about. It's only about 10-15 minutes anyways. But the more we do this, the more we're getting them connected to their deen. And unfortunately, nowadays, we have adults in this country who actually don't even pray. And so, I am going to tell you this story that happened, and Allah is my witness. This story truly, truly affected me when I heard it from the actual source. This extremely wealthy, rich man, he was the epitome of what success is all about. Passed away in Virginia. And so a call was made to the kids all the way in California who graduated from Harvard University and MIT. I mean, they were truly the poster child of what success and money is in America. They didn't ride a plane to come. They chartered a private jet to come to Virginia, all the way from California. You could see them with their luxurious rented car at the distance in the graveyard. And as they left the car, landing with their $500-600 shoe, $2,000 suits, they were inching on that green lawn towards the grave where soon their father would be buried. And all of a sudden the Imam looked and he says, come, lead the Salah. And one of the boys says, no, it's okay. You could tell he was a CEO-like quality. I mean, he stood there like someone who knows what he's doing, running a big conglomerate company. He turns to the other boy and says, no, I'm fine. Just you lead, Sheikh, you lead. So he says, yeah, this is your father. And lead the Salah. You will be more emotional. Your Salah will be more truthful. Lead the Salah. Oh, you don't know how to do the Salah for the Janazah. I'll teach you. He said, no, it's okay. Oh, you don't have wudu? He says, no, Sheikh, just you lead the Salah. And they became, of course, they're business-like, CEO-like, Sheikh, you lead the Salah, please. Like that. When the Salah ended, he turned to them and he says, why wouldn't you lead the Salah? I said, Sheikh, you don't understand. We had never prayed in our lives. We didn't even know what prayer is all about. Allah has given us everything. And the only thing that He asks is 5 times a day, 7 minutes. Total of 24 minutes a day compared to 24 hours a day. I think we owe that, at least, so that He may bless us and bless our families. I really want and ask Allah to bless all of our families and to raise our children to be the righteous children that we hope them to be. And whatever I said, if it is good, it is from Allah, right? Whatever I said, if it is wrong, it is from me and the shaitan, and Allah is free from all errors. Jazakumullah khair.